Good morning and welcome to Flashpoint. On the program today, we're going to profile maybe one of the most heated, intense, and at times acrimonious races during this election cycle. Talking about the race for district attorney here in the great county of Oklahoma. On the program today, Oklahoma County District Attorney Wes Lane and his opponent David Prater, a former member of the district attorney's office. Now, both men want what's best for Oklahoma County, and they think they're the ones to do that. So we're going to be talking to Wes and David about that today. And gentlemen, we appreciate, I know sometimes it's kind of uncomfortable just a couple of feet away from the person who's got you in their political machine crosshairs. Yeah. I was going to say, now you know how Mike experiences it every week.
This is kind of close here, actually.
I experience it every week. But we appreciate you being here. We're looking forward to a spirited debate here on the big program. Wes, you're the incumbent. We'll start with you. What makes you the man that people should vote for in this race?
Well, I tell you what, it has been a privilege to get to be district attorney. I've been a prosecutor for over 20 years. I worked for Bob Macy for 16 of those years. Had an opportunity when he recommended me to Governor Keating to follow in his footsteps, and Governor Keating was good enough to follow up on that advice, appointed me, and got to run obviously 4 years ago for the first time. You know, Oklahoma County has got one of the largest district attorney's offices in the country. We process a lot of cases. We file, gosh, almost 15,000 cases a year and do a lot of great work. We've got 150 staff, a lot of great people. Three of the things that I'm just really very, very proud of is, number one, it's our trial record. We've got one of the best trial records in the country.
In terms of convictions.
And try to, you show up in a jury trial, get a verdict, we win. 85% of the time, that's an outstanding record. And when you look at murders and child abuse cases, we win 94% of the time. That is jury verdicts. So next, I'm very proud of what we do out in the community with returning people who have been defrauded, whether by hot check writers or other folks. We've returned over $11 million out to these people over the last 5 years. And finally, one of the things that I'm especially pleased about is our initiative over the last, a little over a year, which what I call the Coalition Against the Financial Exploitation of the Elderly. That particular group, senior citizens, are being increasingly victims of predators who are stealing their life savings. We have, I created a coalition about a little over a year ago, and today we're actually, the 5 years prior to that coalition's existence, we'd only found probably about 50 cases. We've almost done that many this last year. So we're ratcheting up things. We've got a great office. I'm very proud of my staff.
David, you were a member of that staff.
Correct.
For what, a couple of years or so, and now you are not, and you're running against your former boss. Why?
Correct. Well, I think I can do a much better job. About 3 years ago, I began to be approached by many in the law enforcement community, many in the victims advocate community, and many of those in the courthouse indicating to me that they knew that there were some problems. And I began to look into those problems, and I agreed with them. And my wife, after a lot of thought and prayer, we decided that what we really need to do was seek this office to try to make a change in Oklahoma County. I'm a former law enforcement officer. I was a Norman officer from 1980 to 88. I prosecuted Mr. Macy's office from 93 to 2001 with about a year and a half in there when I was in the grand jury unit with your old buddy Drew Edmondson. Mm-hmm. And I've enjoyed my tenure in public service. I've been in private practice the last 5 years, and over the last year we've been hot and heavy in this campaign and speaking about the Prater plan to really improve justice in Oklahoma County, and specifically justice in the DA's office. The Prater plan includes really three things. We've got to lessen that 14,000 backlog of felony cases that are taking cases from 2 to 2.5 years to get to trial. We've got to reestablish the domestic violence prosecution unit, and we've got to reestablish the gang violence prosecution unit. Gang violence is going through the roof, yet the incumbent DA right now has done nothing about it. And I've got to use a grant writer to bring in some good grants, the federal grants that are available out there for us to use. They're accessible. We just need a grant writer to get those grants in the office to establish those units, and we've got to go after them because the murder rates and the gang violence rates are going through the roof, and we've got to do something about it.
So what about that, Wes? What about those kinds of problems, the gang violence and domestic and backlog?
Well, let me say this. First of all, this has kind of been what has characterized Mr. Prater's campaign. It's been a series of misleading, deceptive, kind of red herrings that have been chased down the way. You know, we have never dissolved the domestic violence unit. For a while, they were saying they did not exist. In fact, we had to reorganize that because, quite frankly, we didn't have enough people that were trained of it. At the time when I took over, we had 3 people that were trained specifically in domestic violence issues. Now we have 9 people that are trained. The few people that we had there just could not handle the workload, and more had to be put in there, and I've done that. Secondly, on this gang violence business, you know, it's an odd thing. When 2 out of the last 3 years, when the State Gang Investigators Association chooses as their gang prosecutors of the year me, followed by even this last year, my gang liaison person, something must be going right in Oklahoma County. The gang investigators around the state recognize that. We do great work. Now, there's no question about the gang issues have been going up, drive-by shootings have been going up. And that's quite frankly why my office, with the Oklahoma City Police Department, with the United States Attorney's Office, FBI, ATF, and all those people have been really ratcheting up things. We have put scores, just over the last 6, 7, 8 months, we have put scores of gang members into prison, into charge them, put them in jail, and then actually the U.S. Attorney's Office and my office divvies them up to see who can actually do the most damage to these guys. And finally, on this backlog business, I mean, you know, we show up for trial every trial week, ready to try cases. For them to put a backlog like it's our fault is really just another. It's kind of the smoke and mirror kind of. He represents criminal defense lawyers routinely, and when he's representing the child molesters and the folks that he does today, I mean, this is the kind of stuff that I, quite honestly, I expect to hear when you don't have the facts on your side. You try to throw out stuff to distract. It's just not true.
Go ahead. Do you have the facts on your side?
Yes, I do. I absolutely do. First, let's talk about this domestic violence unit. Mr. Macy had an exclusive unit that handled just domestic violence cases. That case has been disbanded because this man right here missed deadlines on several federal grants. They don't have a domestic violence unit that exclusively handles domestic violence cases anymore. All the lawyers that handle domestic violence cases handle other cases on their docket as well. There is no gang prosecution unit in the DA's office anymore. Mr. Macy had one, Mr. Lane does not. With these numbers going through the roof with violent crime, there's not a gang violence unit in the DA's office anymore. I don't care what this man wants to tell you. That was a unit that was highly trained under Mr. Macy and handled exclusively gang cases. That gang unit, that gang prosecution unit does not exist anymore. And let's talk about deceptive numbers. This 94%, this 84%, whatever the conviction rate that Mr. Lane wants to claim, the fact is I took the extraordinary step of going to the judges and looking at their reports that go to the court administrator. And the court administrator issues a report. I took that report from an unbiased source and looked at those numbers, and over the last year, since January 1 to August 28th, which were the most recent numbers we had, there's a 76% conviction rate. 76%, that's what the numbers show. As well, there were 33 cases that were dismissed on the day of trial. So these 94% conviction rate, this 84% conviction rate, that is absolutely false. And let me tell you something about what law enforcement's saying about Mr. Lane. I have 7 fraternal order police organizations, that represent the men and women of the police officers and agents of 14 municipal and state agencies. Those fraternal order police organizations have all endorsed me. Never before has that happened in Oklahoma County. Never before has law enforcement come off so much against the incumbent DA. As much as the Oklahoma City Police Department, FOP, they've never not endorsed the incumbent DA in Oklahoma County, and they refuse to do it this time. Even though they did it 4 years ago, they refuse to do it this time.
Go ahead, respond. We're going to let you respond to that, Wes, and we're going to take a break.
Well, let me start at the top here. You know, this business about the FOP, first of all, Mr. Macy disbanded the gang unit. Let's be clear on that. Mr. Macy was the one that did that. I did not do that. Furthermore, you know, talking about the FOP business, I'll just confess right now, guys, I cannot make every police union happy. There are some that are fine, but there are some that are not. And let me tell you why that is. Let me just give you a little sampling of this. Oklahoma City talks about why Oklahoma City, and they didn't endorse him either, by the way. You know, Oklahoma City, the problem that particular union had was quite honestly because I've charged one of the Oklahoma City police officers with assault and battery. If you had been at that meeting, you would have seen that